visit the historic remains of the 9/1 earthquake in Taichung to renew the alarming lesson that nature taught us. We learn about the causes, symptoms, and prevention of osteoporosis from Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital's doctor. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program with some updates on Tzu Chi's disaster relief work in Texas of the United States. The financial aid distribution for police officers impacted by Hurricane Harvey took place recently. Tzu Chi volunteers visited the Houston police station to hand out 600 cash cards. They also took time to honor a fallen officer who lost his life in a Hurricane Harvey-related incident.
So he came to work that night, and he knew he couldn't make it based on his regular route, so he tried to go to another station, and in doing so, that's when he lost his life.
60-year-old Houston police officer Steven Perez headed out to work at 4 a.m. on that fateful night, despite the protests of his wife and father-in-law. Due to the floodwaters blocking his route to his reporting station, he took a different path to report to the second station. He ended up drowning in his car when he drove into the flooded underpass. Perez is among the Harvey-related fatality which occurred, not counting the approximate 500 police officers who put their own flood problems aside to rescue the citizens.
Neighbors were amazing. They were giving me pictures and they told me that our house was flooded. We couldn't make it home because we were working, of course, and so the house stayed flooded for about 2 days.
To alleviate the financial worries of the first responders in Houston, Texas, Tzu Chi volunteers held the distribution for police officers, handing out 600 cash cards to the impacted.
I just want to say thank you. And say it in Chinese again. 谢谢. 谢谢.
很多人呢
Many of the police officers put their own family aside, even though they too are flood victims, yet they still are very responsible in carrying out their duties to help others.
The Texas Buddhist Association also donated a generous amount to Tzu Chi to help in this disaster relief.
I'm very happy to know that Tzu Chi has mobilized this many volunteers in Houston to help in this disaster relief efforts.
There is no distinction between you or me in disaster relief, as Tzu Chi just hopes to take care of all those in need.
18 years ago, the September 21st earthquake caused tremendous damages in Taiwan. 18 years later, how much of it do people remember? We'll return to the quake site in Taichung and recall the moment when the quake struck.
你们那时候几岁？1岁。
那时候5岁还是6岁，很恐怖啊，真的很恐怖。这跌倒来真的是怎么逃都逃不掉。
At 1:47 a.m. September 21st, 1999, a 7.3 earthquake happened. It happened 18 years ago, but the scene from the quake is still reminding us how powerful that nature can be. These visitors are from Mao in Kaohsiung. When they see the remains of September 21st earthquake, they are shocked by it.
The quake was very powerful, very scary, really scary.
The children who fought split the Guangfu Junior High School into half. These two coconut trees happened to stand on the fault line and witness the moment of history.
They happened to stand at where the surface was damaged, so you can see the trees tilting to one side.
The running tracks were torn to pieces, with the average height differences of 2.65 meters. It has stopped for 18 years since the earthquake happened.
When some kids came here, they became very excited because they felt the earthquake seemed fun. But after they had seen the whole area, the things the park reserves, their impression of the quake became different.
The power of nature not only changed the landscape, but also people's fates.
When I climbed to the bed, there were several shakes. I yelled, "Earthquake!" but it was too late. The whole area exploded.
Zhu Zhongchun is 68 years old and he lives at Jiufeng Mountain. The photos on the wall record the history of quake.
The house was pulled apart. After that, the whole house sank down.
On the night of the quake, the mountain fell apart and Zhu's house and storage room collapsed suddenly and were thrown to the valley. His wife was buried under the rubble.
I just screamed help and screamed Amitofo. I kept on yelling help. He helped me by knocking down the brick walls.
The couple was lucky to be alive. His wife later had a surgery on her spinal cord, and Zhu himself became crippled. Because he constantly put force on one leg, it injured his lower back. The quake changed their lives. He stopped his construction business and opened a store in his hometown, so he can tell people his quake experience.
Then there was Wenchuan earthquake and also a quake last year that causes one housing complex to collapse in Tainan. Afterwards, many tourists would come here. The 9/1 quake happened over 10 years ago, but they still come and take a look.
18 years later, when we return to the site of the quake, everything we see is a warning to us that we should respect the nature and be prepared for any natural disaster.
Vietnam's academic system is similar to that of Taiwan. After years of reform, the Vietnamese government is committed to promoting primary education, with youth literacy rate rising to 97% and adult literacy rate at 94%. However, the real situation reveals a gap between the urban and rural education. Here's our report.
I went to Ho Chi Minh City to study 5 years ago, but I didn't invite my mom come to see me because my living environment was quite poor.
His graduation photos hung in an important part of his house. This 20-something Chinese person graduated from the university 2 years ago and is the only son of his family. He currently works in a foreign bank, and with overtime, he can earn about $300 a month, which is considered a good income. DaAi's home is located in the remote Sok Trang province. He lives in the first-floor dwelling with almost no furniture. His greatest wish is to make enough money for his mother to renovate their house.
I study at a state university, which charge a lot, which together with the rent for the house cost me about $180 a month.
Rent plus tuition fees led him to spend more than $300 a month, but this is about half of his parents' monthly income, as Vietnamese parents typically have high hopes for their only son. Vietnam has long been influenced by Chinese Confucian culture. This means that the majority of Vietnamese parents believe that knowledge can change a person's fate.
They are very willing to invest in students. From kindergarten, they start this investment. While there are different courses, English is still essential.
Speaking fluent English is something that comes easily to these third-grade Vietnamese students. And next door in this classroom, there are children less than 6 years old. Parents are rushing to send them to classes to learn English in the hopes that these children will get a head start on life. Due to declining birth rates in Taiwan, Mr. Chen 10 years ago decided to invest in the education market in Vietnam. He developed a chain of English cram schools and now operates some 50 classes. Typically 12 hours per month of English costs about $60, which is about 1/3 of the average office worker's salary.
So cool. Thank you very much.
Now in Hanoi, the minimum wage is about $150, and many are willing to spend $60 on 12 hours of cram school each month.
Vietnam's education system is divided into 5 stages. From the age of 6 to middle school, there's 9 years of basic compulsory education. But because there are more students and less resources, these students typically face more pressure to advance in their studies than Taiwan students.
Many people want to go to the top school in the first district to take an exam, so simply put, the admission rate is quite low here, about 3%.
In recent years, with the rise of the middle class after 1997, Vietnam encouraged private schools to enter the market, with many parents willing to spend a lot of money so that their children can go to schools funded with foreign investment. This school is funded by a Taiwan businessman who built secondary schools in Vietnam. hoping to attract the elite with tuition each semester between $2,000 to $3,000 but so far, admission rate is 30%.
Vietnam's education policy became more open as we hope to lead students to face the challenges of the 21st century.
Chen Wei Hong, who is a retired principal of Taipei Municipal Jianguo High School, has been invited here and hopes to bring Taiwan's educational philosophy to Vietnam. However, he worries that Taiwan's education lacks long-term planning.
The quality of our teaching is something that Taiwan is very proud of. However, the world is changing very fast. And when you go too slow, people will surpass you as your progress is too slow.
According to UNESCO, Vietnam spent 19.8% of government expenditures on education in 2010, which is much higher than the average of 13.7% of other East Asian countries. In 20 years, youth literacy increased to 97%, and 70% graduate from high school, with 30% graduate from university. In 2016, a global English proficiency survey saw Vietnam top Taiwan, and from 2002 to 2012, the number of Vietnamese studying abroad has grown nearly 5 times, with Taiwan being the 7th largest country for overseas Vietnamese students.
This is subsidized by the Ministry of Education, the first international Mandarin testing facility.
In response to the increased demand for Mandarin language studies, the Ministry of Education began implementing a cooperation training program in 2007, sending Mandarin teachers to Vietnam. 32-year-old Chinese teacher Huang Yunling is a professor teaching conversation at the Department of Humanities and Eastern Social Sciences at Hanoi University. She deeply feels the ambition of Vietnamese people to study.
Originally, there were a dozen Chinese teachers, but this year it increased to 34. And I heard next year there will be more. Students here are learning so fast, it's becoming a big market.
Global Chinese learning is a boom not only in Vietnam but elsewhere, creating many job opportunities.
I think it will help my future work because I want to work with Chinese people to do business.
Most of the time they want to study this because it will help them find a job. This will definitely be a big help as there are a lot of Taiwanese businesses.
Vietnam has 5,400 Taiwanese businessmen. To attract Vietnamese students to study Chinese, the Vietnamese government will implement a foreign language project in 2020. In 2016, it announced that Japanese should be promoted to equal status with English as a top-tier foreign language. This year, it was announced that Mandarin and Russian will also become a required language for Vietnamese students. With Vietnam's economic progress, education is also progressing, as many now know that language studies will help them find work for foreign companies operating in the country.
Buddha Tzu Chi Stem Cell Center in Hualien, Taiwan, once again has a successful case of a foreign match. After Vietnam's Blood Transfusion Hematology Hospital in Ho Chi Minh City signed a memorandum of agreement with Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital last year, they have a successful case of match for the first time.
Before handing over a bag of peripheral blood stem cells, medical staff examines everything carefully in each step because these stem cells will be sent to Vietnam to save lives for the first time.
The support from the Tzu Chi, we come here, because it's the first case, we worry a lot of things, but we receive the support very good, very well from the Tzu Chi.
Vietnam is the 31st country the Buddhist Tzu Chi Stem Cell Center has offered bone marrow to since its establishment 24 years ago, marking a historic milestone for Tzu Chi.
We hope through this match, we will have more opportunities to help Vietnam. We also hope to develop a good relationship with the hospital there by visiting and learning from each other.
As Buddhist Tzu Chi Stem Cell Center, 200-some residents have become bone marrow donors this year. It is hoped that more and more people will sign up for the stem cell drive to help the patients who need a bone marrow transplant.
While many people might think that only elderly people get osteoporosis, there are in fact many causes for osteoporosis. People who love drinking coffee, people who avoid sunlight or do not exercise are all high-risk groups who might get osteoporosis.
I am hunchbacked as I walk. My waist does not feel well and I walk slowly.
80-year-old Mrs. Liu experiences waist and back pain. Bone density examinations show that she has osteoporosis.
I don't like to exercise.
Lack of exercise is one of the causes for losing bone mass. Osteoporosis does not only happen to elderly people. People who love to drink coffee, pregnant women, those going through menopause, and people who are not exposed to sunlight are high-risk groups for osteoporosis.
Our body creates vitamin D3 from direct sunlight on our skin. Vitamin D3 is required for bone formation.
Looking at a bone, the outer layer is called compact bone, while the inner layer is known as spongy bone. It looks like a honeycomb and sponge. As one loses bone mass, the pores will increase.
Compared to healthy bones, the intervertebral discs are softer. They are first one to move. Nevertheless, after the bone is fractured, this side will become softer than intervertebral discs. So the part that moves is the part that fractured.
People need 1,000 milligrams of calcium supplements a day to strengthen the bones. For those whose bones have fractured and elderly people, they need 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day. According to Taiwan Association of Gerontology and Geriatrics, for those over 65 years old, 1 in 9 has osteoporosis. For women, the rate is 1 in 4. In fact, after people turn 40 years old, their bone density decreases and supplements are needed every day. While many countries struggle to get cornea donations, Sri Lankan donors export them to the world. Since Sri Lanka is a predominantly Buddhist country, many residents believe that cornea donations can accumulate merit or even extend their wisdom. Therefore, many people sign up as cornea donors. In our next report, we take a look at how Sri Lankans have restored the eyesight of countless visually impaired people around the world. Villagers in Hanwela, which is an hour right away from Colombo, mostly live in poverty. Nevertheless, they naturally enjoy helping people in need. Rapawabi Parara is taking out the cornea donor certificate she has kept carefully. She has gotten this from a temple.
I'm a Buddhist. The Buddha said that it is good to donate one's cornea to help others. I want to do it too.
Sri Lanka is a predominantly Buddhist country, and many residents believe that donating corneas can accumulate merit and nurture wisdom. Besides Rapawabi, her oldest daughter and husband have also signed cornea donor cards.
I've read about news of cornea donation on the newspaper, and therefore I want to donate it too.
Religious beliefs have encouraged Sri Lankans to donate their corneas. Among the 21 million people in Sri Lanka, 1.4 million people have signed up for cornea donation. At its peak, Sri Lankans donate 8,000 corneas a year, while in Taiwan, on average, people donate less than 500 corneas a year. Since half of the patients cannot find corneas, they rely on other countries' exports. This 4-story building is the headquarters of Sri Lanka Eye Donation Society, which stores the corneas donated by local residents. This is Dr. Hudson Silva, the founder of the Eye Donation Society. In the early days, he had to store donated corneas in his refrigerator at home.
This is a clean page. Here comes from here and filter and blow.
With the advanced equipment, the society accepts at least 20 corneas a day. Since 1961, the society has donated more than 70,000 corneas, benefiting more than 114 cities in 57 countries. Currently, China receives the most corneas, up to 400 of them in a month.
39 corneas we have at the moment. Tonight we sent 35 corneas to Xi'an in China. Actually, we are doing a service, but we are not selling the cornea. Okay. We are charging only the processing cost, the media.
In Sri Lanka, the donor's corneas need to be taken out within 4 hours of his death to be soaked in liquid medicine. The corneas can be kept for 14 days. Since the cost is low, Taiwan used to import eyeballs from Sri Lanka in 1990s. However, since the quality was unstable, leading to infection, the imports eventually stopped.
It is best not to exceed 48 hours after the entire eyeball is taken out. However, it takes them at least a week to send them here, so the corneas get swollen.
Sri Lankans who are not wealthy in monetary terms harbor the spirit of giving and helping people. This pearl of the Indian Ocean has brought hope and restored the eyesight for countless visually impaired patients around the world. In China, Tang Zhiqiang is a street cleaner in Hunan Changsha. Having to support his old mother, sick wife, and a daughter, he has to live a frugal life. Nevertheless, he's still willing to do good deeds to help other less fortunate people.
For this year's winter distribution, Tang Zhiqiang is taking a group of volunteers to visit impoverished street cleaners. Then he finally brings the volunteers to his home. He brought home every piece of furniture from the street. Even the Jinshi aphorism on the wall was brought home while he was sweeping the street. Tang Zhiqiang does not make much money every month, but his mother is old, his wife is sick and frail, and his daughter goes to college, so he has to be frugal with everything. He even collects woods home for cooking.
With firewood, I can save money on gas. If I don't buy them, I'll collect them and bring them home so I won't use gas.
He is very supportive of Tzu Chi. He received a coin back at Tzu Chi's year-end ceremony, so he began saving 1 renminbi a day. When floods happened in Hunan in July, he donated his coin back.
There are poor people having difficulties, so I want to help them, because I came from a poor family too.
At one distribution for street cleaners, one Tzu Chi volunteer tells everyone the good deed he has done.
This may not be the largest donation, but it's one of the heaviest donations.
Tang feels he is an ordinary person and does a trivial good deed, so he appears very shy while sitting with others. He cannot hold back his tears because this is the most honorable moment of his life.
Tzu Chi Academy in Sydney, Australia, recently organized a vegetarian food sale to raise funds for Tzu Chi's international disaster relief work. To support this event, many teachers, parents, and Tzu Chi volunteers made snacks to be sold. We'll leave you with these images at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.